Hi everyone, welcome to Kowan's Kitchen. For today's video, I'm going to share with you guys how I make the Taiwanese Castella Cake. The Castella Cake is now a specialty of Nagasaki and it was introduced to Taiwan in the 20th century. Compared to the Japanese Castella, the Taiwanese Castella has a lighter and more souffle-like texture. In my opinion, the Castella Cake is one of the easier kind of cakes to bake, but like all cake baking, it still requires speed and precision. There will be some difficulties involved, but I'll try my best to guide you through the process. So, let's start making it! This recipe makes approximately 1 pound of cake, and the ingredients include 4 eggs, 60 grams of cake flour, 80 ml of milk, 60 ml of olive oil, 2 grams of salt, a quarter of a teaspoon of cream of tartar, 60 grams of icing sugar, 1 teaspoon of rose water, and 2 tablespoons of honey. To make the Taiwanese Castella cake, first prepare the cake mold and line it with baking paper. As you can see, I first trace the bottom of the mold and then cut the 4 corners so that the baking paper can then go inside the mold. I'm using a very simple pound cake mold that is approximately 20 x 10 x 6 cm. Alternatively, you can use a 6-inch round cake pan or a 6-inch square cake pan. Do note that if you're using a cake mold with removable bottom, you will also need to wrap the outside of the mold with 2 layers of aluminum foil. It is because the cake will be baked in a hot water bath later, and you will need the layers of aluminum foil to prevent leakage or the water from going into the mold. After lining the mold, it is time to first weigh the dry ingredients. Weigh the cake flour and the salt in one bowl, then weigh the icing sugar in another. Now, measure the milk. After that, separate the egg yolks from the white. I recommend doing each egg in a separate bowl before transferring the white into a large mixing bowl. This way, even one of the egg yolk leaks in the process, it will not ruin the rest of the egg white. Now, weigh and pour the olive oil into a saucepan and heat it to 65 degrees Celsius, which is approximately 150 degrees Fahrenheit. This does not take too long, and if the temperature gets too high, just wait for it to cool down, back to 65 degrees Celsius. Once the olive oil reaches around 65 degrees Celsius, put in the cake flour and the salt into the saucepan in one go. Use a mixer to stir until it becomes a smooth paste. Now, add in the milk and mix. You will see that the paste gets lumpy. Then, add in the egg yolk and the paste will become smooth again. Then, it is time to add the flavoring and mix well. For this recipe, I'm adding rose water and honey, but if you don't like this combination, you can add vanilla extract instead or more honey, both of which are classic flavors of the Castella cake. Now, preheat the oven to 130 degrees Celsius with fan. If you're not using a fan oven, please refer to the description below for the temperature conversion. It is also time that you prepare boiling water and an empty tray for the hot water bath later. Then, start preparing the meringue. First, put in 1/4 of a teaspoon of cream of tartar into the egg white and whip the egg whites with a hand mixer on high speed. The acid helps stabilize the egg white, and you can also use lemon juice or vinegar if you prefer. Once the egg white becomes foamy like this, add in the icing sugar in 3 goes and continue to whip the egg white on high speed. Icing sugar is used here because it gives the most stable result. You may use caster sugar as an alternative. As you continue to whip the egg white, you will begin to see clear lines in the egg white, and when you stop and lift the hand mixer, you can see that the egg white begins to stand. Now continue to whip the egg whites but on low speed so that the bubbles of the foam becomes finer. This also prevents you from over whipping the egg white. Check every 1 minute or so and whip the egg whites until it reaches the soft peak stage. This means that when you stop and lift the hand mixer, the meringue stands with a hook at the tip. Now, use a spatula to scoop some of the meringue into the egg yolk mixture earlier. Use a whisk to gently mix them well together. This process is called tempering. Then transfer the tempered mixture into the rest of the meringue. Again, use a whisk to gently mix them well together. This is the simplest way of doing it. Alternatively, you can use a spatula to gently fold the mixture, which is the more traditional way of doing it, although this does require a bit more technique to not break too many bubbles in the process. After you mix the mixture well, transfer it into the cake mold that you prepare in the very beginning. Use a spatula to help with the process, and after you pour in all the batter into the cake mold, use a spatula to gently smooth the surface of the batter so that it will look prettier when it's done. Now, tap the mold a few times to knock out any large bubbles inside the batter. Then, put it onto an empty tray and pour into the tray some boiling hot water. This will be the water bath. Now, put it into the oven immediately and bake for 65 minutes. The Castella cake is now baked for 65 minutes. It should be done already, but if you want to make sure, you can stick a skewer or a toothpick in and it should come out clean if the cake is done. Here you have the Taiwanese Castella cake. It has a souffle-like texture, so when you move it, it actually wiggles, which in my opinion is quite a fascinating sight to see. Now I'm cutting it a slice so you can see the fine texture inside. Some prefer to enjoy this cake while it's hot. I think it actually tastes better if it's served cold. So if you can wait, I do recommend chilling the cake in the fridge for a few hours first before consuming it. Thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below and let me know what you think about this recipe and your experience of making it. Please also like and subscribe to this channel for more cooking or baking videos in the future. See you next time in Cohen's Kitchen.